Hi, I'm Ben Salisbury with the Salisbury Creative Group. Today I'm bringing you 5 things I learned about sales from bass fishing. Now, you don't have to be a fan of bass fishing to understand this analogy, and I will tell you it's one of the most powerful analogies I have ever seen or come up with for training salespeople. And I think you might want to watch this video more than once because it's so full of great wisdom that will have a huge impact on the performance of your sales. And for sales leaders, this is so important for you to get your head around this because sales leaders are often asking their salespeople to do a lot of things that really don't line up with the 5 things I'm about to share with you. So point number 1, the first thing I learned about sales from bass fishing is that time is the most precious asset. You know, in a bass tournament, where, by the way, the top bass fishermen make millions of dollars over the course of their careers. It's a very lucrative sport. But anyway, there's a start time and an end time to each of these tournaments. This is one of the reasons why they have these huge engines on the boats, like 300 horsepower, and these boats go 90 miles an hour. The reason for this is you've got a finite amount of time to get all of that fishing in, and you don't want to waste any time on non-productive things. So you blast to the place you're going to fish. Now you can get down to the fishing, and then you blast to the next place, and you blast back to the weigh-in. So time is just so critical in a bass tournament, just as it is in selling. To bass fishermen, efficiency is the highest priority because time is so precious. And that is absolutely true with salespeople. I talk about it first because of all the things I see when I'm coaching and training salespeople, this is the biggest one. They spend a lot of time on low-value activities. Their sales leaders tolerate it, allow it, and it's something that can be fixed for sure. So the second lesson about sales that I learned from bass fishing is professional bass fishermen leave nothing to chance. They stack the deck in their favor. That is exactly how they win. If you look at the deck of a bass boat, a professional fisherman's bass boat, what you'll see is an array of rods and reels and line and lures, and each specific fishing rod is paired with the perfect lure and the perfect weight of line for that lure. The rod is the perfect length, the perfect flexibility. So when they present the lure to the bass, I think it's quite ironic that they refer to this as presentation. When they present the lure to the bass, they want it to be done in an optimal way. So nothing is left to chance. Every last detail is attended to. And success in sales is very much like this. Spending a lot of time preparing, which is the third thing I'm going to talk about, and not leaving anything to chance. No, putting yourself in a situation where you're going to have a high probability of winning. That is the second lesson for bass fishing and sales. Now, the third lesson is preparation is the key to winning. Now, in sales, this is not the sexiest part of the job. In fact, if I had a nickel for every time I heard a sales manager say, I want my people out in the street 4 days a week, 4.5 days a week, or no one ever sold anything sitting in their office, I have to tell you, there's certain amount of truth to that. You're not going to sell anything if you don't go out and make sales calls. That's true. But what's not true is the overemphasis on activity and the underemphasis on preparation. You see, preparation is the key to winning a bass tournament, and it is the key to winning in sales. If we could only embrace this winning formula in our sales approach, we'd have so much better success rates. You know, here's another analogy for bass fishing. These guys spend 5 days of practice for every 2 days of tournament. What does that tell you? If they are professional, well, can't they just wing it? Can't they just show up at the lake and just do what they do and they're so good at it? They've been doing it. You see this in sales. You see this all the time. This intuitive winging it, going with the flow, trusting your gut. Some of that is okay, but it's really not how you get to be super successful. Professional bass fishermen study every potential aspect of their success. They look at water clarity, water temperature, solar lunar tables, the contours and the structure of the lake bottom and the shoreline. Every facet of the game is analyzed and prepared for. And sales, you can do the same thing. In sales, you need to really undertake every last detail of your accounts and your buyers. What are their preferences? What are their influencers? And you too can use that preparation to increase your success in selling. The fourth lesson I learned about sales from bass fishing is to fish where the fish are. Now this sounds really common sense, right? But pay close attention to what some modern salespeople do. To them, a sale is a sale is a sale, and they want to be able to put that win up on the board. And they don't always spend a lot of time thinking about, am I going after the very biggest fish, or is just more fish the game? In professional bass fishing, they go where the big fish hang out, and they completely ignore the places where the smaller fish are going to be. And those smaller fish might be more plentiful, but they're not worth it. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Because not all fish are equal, and that is the fifth lesson. But anyway, back to lesson number 4, to fish where the fish are. You must spend your time, you must have the discipline to spend your time in the places where you're going to catch the most fish. This is often kind of boring. If you watch a professional bass fishing tournament on TV or in person, they'll spend a lot of time casting and casting and casting and coming up with nothing. But when they do, it's one of the biggest fish of the day. This takes discipline. It takes planning. It is not easy to do, and it isn't the sexiest part of selling. But fishing where the fish are is the key to winning. The last of the 5 lessons I learned about sales from bass fishing is that not all fish are equal. Here's the thing about a bass tournament. They've got a 5 fish limit. You can only bring 5 fish to the weigh-in. The combined weight of the 5 fish, the highest combined weight of the 5 fish wins the tournament. It's that simple. So all throughout the day, you have what's called culling. You catch a fish, you put it in the live well. When you catch a bigger fish, you take the small one out and put it back in the lake. This is why they have a live well on the boat, so they can put the live fish back into the lake. And so this idea that not all fish are equal is deadly serious when it comes to winning a bass fishing tournament. They will focus all their efforts on only catching large fish. They're only interested in large fish, because that's where the big money is. While it might be thrilling to catch lots of fish and lots of small fish, it is thrilling. It's much less boring if you're catching a fish every other cast. Sales is a lot like this. Resist the temptation to get your thrills by making lots of small sales. It's not very time efficient. It doesn't really get you to the promised land at the end of the day or the end of the month. You must have the discipline to focus on these larger fish. So not all fish are equal. It takes courage and discipline to restrict your activity to only the biggest fish. So in summary, let me just say that any idiot can put a worm on a hook with a little bobber and toss it out there and sit around and wait. But it takes discipline, focus, planning, and leaving nothing to chance to be successful in sales. So I know there's a bit of a stretch, this analogy between bass fishing and sales success, but if you study this, I promise you it's absolutely true. So I wish you good success. Thank you.